Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? This evening is 5:23 a.m. I went to sleep at 11 something last night. And I woke up at 1. At one point, I just turned my alarm off and was like, I'm just going to get up in the morning. And then Tucker woke up at like 4:30 and was like, oh, and it scared the hell out of me. And I was like, oh my God, there's somebody in our house. And I turned over and I said, Alex, I said, Tucker's like barking like there's somebody in our house. And he was like asleep and mumbling. And he said something like, then just tell them to go away or something like that. And so I laid there in bed for like 10 minutes completely freaked out and told Tucker to get back on the bed. Boo Radley slept through all of it because he's, well, Boo Radley, like during the day, if Tucker starts, well, and at night too, if Tucker starts going crazy, usually Boo goes crazy too. But Boo was so tired tonight, he was tucked into a little circle right next to me. He was so cute. So Tucker just, I don't know what he heard. He heard something in our neighborhood. But, yeah, that was that. It was probably the newspaper guy that drives around our neighborhood and throws newspapers. I've been thinking about getting the newspaper lately. Actually, yesterday I bought a newspaper to do the crossword because, you know, I've been saying that I wanted to get back to doing the crossword forever. And I bought the crossword and I never even did it. I didn't even open the newspaper. It was just sitting on my counter. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe I'll get the newspaper today sometime. Then I'll have 2 crosswords to do. Like, that would be really fun, wouldn't it? We decided we're just going to have a laid-back, easy kind of weekend. I went to the Meijer tonight, and I got a bunch of food. I got Alex mozzarella string cheese and Fruit Loops. He said, will you get me some Fruit Loops? And I said, when did you like Fruit Loops? Because I've always liked Fruit Loops. I can maybe count on my hands like 2 times, 3 times that we've had Fruit Loops in our house. And I said, oh, okay. And so when I went into the Meijer, they had these boxes that were like corn pops. I used to eat those corn pops with half and half because my mom used to always get half and half. Milk is like a special. I think now looking back, it was because she really liked it. You know, like half and half that's like creamer and coffee. Have you ever had it with cereal? Oh my God, it's so good. I know whenever I say that, people are always like, that sounds so disgusting, but it isn't. It's really good. It's like a little special treat. I'm sure it's like so fattening, but anyway. So they had these boxes that are like snack sizes of corn pops. Maybe Sugar Smacks, but I'm not sure. And then those Honey Smacks, whatever they're called. And then, is it Honey Smacks or Sugar Smacks? I don't remember. And then Fruit Loops. So I got him a box of those, and then I actually got him a box of the Fruit Loops cereal too. Because if I had just gotten those, then those would have been the wrong thing. So, I got him both. And he was really excited about it. He was like, ooh, these are cool. They were like bigger. They were like, the Fruit Loops were like this big. And then he wanted something else too. Oh, veggie chips. But then he texted me. He said, I had said, text me what you want. He had texted me that because before I left, he had said veggie chips. And then he said, no veggie chips. Now, I got all kinds of stuff. I got hummus. And I got 2 Totinos, little Totinos. You know, those square pizzas. They used to be little round ones, but now they're square. They call them party size. I don't know who you're having a party with, party of one, but they're those little party size pizzas. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I love those Totino's pizzas. They're like 10 for $10. Oh my God, those are like the best pizzas in the entire world. So I got 2 of those, cheese. That's what I had for dinner tonight. I had that, and then I had, my dinner was so healthy tonight. I had that, and then I had sour cream and onion Pringles. Coleslaw. I got some coleslaw from the deli section at Meijer. Oh my God, I love coleslaw. I don't know how I became like such a coleslaw freak. And that's what I had for dinner. And then I got this gingerbread bark stuff too. I ate the entire thing while I was sitting there watching an episode of Welcome to Plathville. I'm almost done with the season. I didn't realize it was only 6 episodes, and I finished the first 4 episodes. The second season just came out. And then, what else did I... Oh, I got Redskin potato salad, but I didn't eat any of that tonight. I didn't have any of the hummus either. I got something else too. Oh, macaroni salad. I love macaroni salad. Basically, I like the salads. And by salads, I mean anything that you can get that has mayonnaise in it. In the deli section at the Meijer or the grocery store. It is cold. It is 28 degrees. I think we're headed for snow here. I was actually just listening. Oh my God, Dr. Seuss, Welcome Christmas is on right now, and 73 Holiday Traditions. I was just listening to Christmas music, and it was Frank Sinatra singing White Christmas. And I was thinking to myself, it's so weird that like we're like right around the corner from Christmas. And I know some people are like, we haven't even had Thanksgiving yet. But like where I live in Indianapolis, like, I mean, the Christmas lights are everywhere. People are being really festive. People are ready for it. Can I just tell you that today, this is so cold right now, but I reviewed this. So this one Starbucks, it's not my main Starbucks, but this one Starbucks that I go to, they see there's Christmas lights right there. I don't know if those are meant to be Christmas lights, maybe just flashing lights. But anyway, this one Starbucks that I go to, they have like special drinks that they come up with, and they put them on like a board. I like did it, like reviewed a couple of them for Halloween. Well, today I went through there and I just wanted to see what they had, and so I reviewed this, and it's it was called a raspberry mocha praline, I think. Raspberry something praline. She said it tastes like one of those raspberry thumbprint cookies. You guys, this is so good. This is so good. And I got in my car tonight because there's like a third of it left. Third or a fourth, I can't tell. I ain't got my glasses on, I can't do math. And the entire car smelled like raspberry. I was like, oh no, you know what I bet it was? I'm so silly. I am so silly. I bought these. I bought these at Meijer the other night. These new things, these new. See, I have 2 of them. I have one for here, and I have they look like earrings, and one here. They're cranberry. I bet that's why the car smelled. I am so silly that I thought that was because of the raspberry coffee. Oh, well. Well, I was thinking that because, like, sometimes when we go out and Alex leaves a Red Bull in the car, or if I leave a Red Bull in the car overnight, like when we get in the car the next day, the entire car smells like Red Bull. It's not my favorite smell in the entire world, because then it smells like a Red Bull and vodka, even though it's not. It's just a Red Bull. It reminds me of that in my car. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So back to what I was saying. I was trying to go back to sleep because I was going to set my alarm for like 7 and then get up and vlog. And I was laying there, and I went over and I grabbed my phone, which whenever I do that, it's just like bad news. And I was like, I am wide awake. Like, I am wide awake. And really, more than anything, to be honest, I wanted to come out to my car and listen to a little bit of my cozy mystery. I'm now on book 6 of the Jana DeLeon series, Misfortune series. It's called Soldiers of Fortune. I just realized I'm so, like, I don't know what has happened lately, if my brain is slowing down because of these cozy mysteries or what, but I am so in, oh, this is what I was going to say. Like, you know, it took me forever to realize that it's called the Misfortune series, like M-I-S-S, like her name is Miss Fortune, like Mrs. Fortune, you know, but that Misfortune, you guys, I was like driving around, I think in a vlog when I figured it out, and I was like, oh, I get it, like Misfortune, like she's misfortunate, you know, okay. Well, I don't know what took me so long to realize that the title is called Soldiers of Fortune. Because it's like of fortune, like of her. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're really good. I've been listening to a lot of Christmas music, or I would actually be going through them a lot faster than I have been. So anyway, let's see. What did I do today? Friday. Dun, 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 dun. I feel like my whole day today was just so relaxed. I don't feel like I really did a whole lot. I cleaned the kitchen a little bit. I'm like straightening up my area where all my books are. And I went through a bunch of stuff. And what did I do today? You know, I like started that Cameo thing, and like people, I mean, I am getting like nonstop requests for cameos, you guys. It is so nice. And I love doing it. It's so fun. But I was looking on there because I was thinking about like getting Alex one for Christmas or getting Tanya one for Christmas from like Real Housewives. Like I was like, oh, if Lisa Vanderpump has one, then I'm going to get Alex one from Lisa Vanderpump. Well, I was really hoping like Andy Cohen would have one or something like that, right? But he doesn't. So I was like, I'll get him one from, because he loves Lisa Vanderpump. $299. And I'm sure she's just like, Merry Christmas, Alex. That's not happening for $299. And then I was going through them and I was like, I don't know who Tanya would want one from, because whenever Tanya and I talk, it's like who she likes always changes. And I would hate to like, you know, get her one from like Dorit or something. And she's like, I don't like Dorit this week. You know what I mean? And she literally watches every season. Actually, Alex started watching tonight. He started watching the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. But he didn't finish it because he was watching Grey's Anatomy first. That show is so sad. He has watched that like the entire time that we've been together. And I actually tweeted something like this out tonight. I feel like I have never watched an episode of that show. Like I've laid next to him when he's watching it in bed or whatever. Or he'll have it on and I'll be like downstairs doing something. That is the most tragic show in the entire world. I feel like every episode people are dying. And it has the saddest soundtrack of music I've ever heard in my entire life. And I always just want to start crying whenever I'm listening to it. I tweeted something like that out. People were like, you should start it from the very beginning. I do not have the time or the energy to start a show to catch up with 9 or 10 seasons. I think it's probably at like 12 seasons now. A couple years ago, I was like, well, maybe I will start it. Do you remember that show with Sally Field? Was it called Brothers and Sisters or something like that? I think it was that show that I was going to start. But anyway, and then I was like, well, maybe I'll start Grey's Anatomy. You know, everybody calls it Grey's. They just call it Grey's. But anyway, I was like, well, maybe I'll start Grey's Anatomy and then I'll catch up and then Alex and I can watch it together. There's no way. It's like that Game of Thrones. I don't see, like, here's what's so funny is I don't ever pick the right shows to watch. Like, I always pick these shows that, like, never make it past a season, right? Like, I loved that Stephen King show, The Dome. And we actually, back then, we had, like, worked with the producer of, like, some TV. I can't remember what it was. I think we worked with the guy from Logo, and then he went over to whatever station that guy, or that show, The Dome, was on, or whatever. And so we got like the first couple episodes of it for free. So we got really like hooked, or not for free, but like sent to us. So we got hooked on it because we watched it ahead of time. And I was really into that show, and I think it got canceled after 2 seasons. I was really into that Red Band Society, which I always forget what it's called. I don't know how I just remembered. But that reminded me very much of the book by John Green, The Fault in Our Stars. And that one girl looked like Winnie Cooper from Wonder Years. I loved that show, the Red Band Society, about those kids that were on that terminally ill unit. I thought it was so well done. And it got canceled after 1 season. Dead Like Me, loved that show. It got canceled after, I think 2 seasons, and then they did like a TV show to follow it up, or like a movie. Looking on HBO, loved that show. Loved that show. Oh my God. It got canceled. Oh my God, I loved that show so much. I always thought that, what was that guy? The boyfriend that was Latino. I always thought he was so good looking. I loved that show so much. I thought it was I thought it was very realistically done. Like, if you want to know really, like, what a group of, like, gay guy friends is like, that's, like, I don't talk a lot about this on here, but I have, like, 3 friends of mine that, like, we were friends way back together, and would always go out together and whatever. We all live in different places now. I actually found out that my one friend moved back here from California. I don't know how somebody told me that or something. And I haven't talked to him since he's been back here. I didn't even know he moved back here. But anyway, back in the day, then my friend that lives in Denver that I was going to move out there, and then my other friend that lives in Florida now, and he was like my best friend for like years and years. He was the one that we went on the date, and then when I was like 20, and then he's a couple years older than me, and that we realized we were better off just being friends. He was actually at my wedding. And he's married now too, and he's such a nice guy. But anyway, the 4 of us, oh my God, we used to have so much fun back in the day. And we were super close. Like, that's kind of what that show Looking is like. Like, I feel like Looking was a really honest portrayal of what friendships, like, with older, not old, but like older gay guys is like. Because that Dominic guy was like, that Dom guy, he was like my age, like on the show. And his best friend was like a woman. I don't know, I just thought if you haven't watched the show, you should check it out. It was on HBO, and it was called Looking, and it was like with like 4 gay guy friends, and basically their lives and their relationships and stuff. And I thought it was really honestly done. Okay, it got canceled. I think they did a movie to like tie it all up together at the end to show what happened. It's like, I don't know why all of the shows that I love get canceled. And then the other thing is, as soon as I find out that it's canceled, like, I don't want to watch it anymore. There was one show that was with, oh shoot, Twin Peaks. Loved that show. Got canceled. Although I did watch the final season. Do you remember they came back like 25 years later? I watched that a couple years ago. That was really, really good on Showtime. I really liked that. Very freaky though. But that show, Alex and I both watched this show that had that Madchen girl in it. Do you know what I'm talking about? And she was like a witch, and she had a sister. We both watched that, and it got canceled. What else? Yeah, I feel like everything that I watch that I get excited about gets canceled. I'm surprised Pose didn't get canceled, because I love that show. Did you guys watch Legendary on HBO Max? So it's like, I talked about it when I was watching it. It was sometime this summer. It was like this reality competition show of like the ballroom scene, like from Paris is Burning kind of, but you know, I mean, the one that's been around forever. I'm just referencing that movie so people might know what I'm talking about. But there was this one judge on there, and her name was Leonie, and she's like really well known for voguing, like in the ballroom scene. I don't know what happened, but like I was watching on YouTube, and all of a sudden, I've been like watching the weirdest stuff on YouTube, and all of a sudden, like one of her videos just popped up, and it was like just her like, it was like a minute and 23 second clip or something, 32 second clip, minute and 32 second clip of her like voguing, and oh, this is so pretty, and she's like incredible. And then, because I watched that, of course, all these other videos, you know, started popping up. Do you guys know what is like a community on YouTube? I don't know who told me this, but then I looked into it, and I was like blown away. I was like, this is so cool. Did you guys know that there is a whole community of people on YouTube that have turned their basements into video stores from like the 80s? Have you guys seen this? I am so in love with it. I mean, you guys, These people have literally turned their basements. I mean, when you look at, if you guys watch these videos, you'll be floored. They literally look like Blockbuster movie theaters, or Blockbuster video stores. They have like candy at the end of the aisles and stuff. You guys, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable how, oh my God, look, Christmas trees people have in their house already. It is crazy how, like, spot on they are. Like, if you start watching them, I'm telling you, you won't be able to stop. Like, it's unbelievable. I've been watching those lately. And then Alex showed me this video tonight. It was so sweet. It was about this bird. And this woman rescued this bird when it was like a baby. He was like, okay, I started watching and like, I watched like a second of it. And I was like, oh, okay, send it to me. He was like, no, you have to watch the whole thing. And so we were watching it, and he was like showing it to me on his phone, and it was this woman, and she had like a son or a daughter that was like probably a couple years, I don't know, like 3 or 4 or 5 or something like that. I don't know how old, but anyway, and then her husband, and she'd rescued this bird from the garden and like fallen from the nest or something when it was like just a baby. And so she brought it inside and she like nursed it and fed it, and they like showed like day 1, day 2, all the way to her like taking it outside and teaching it how to fly. Like, she would throw it up in the air and teach it how to fly. And then she was feeding it like dog food out of a can. It was the cutest thing. She was holding this can, and she said, I finally got my Disney princess wish, and I have a bird eating out of my hand. And this bird was literally eating out of this can that she was holding. And then the bird, so then she like let the bird go, and I started getting so sad. I looked up, and my husband had tears in his eyes, and she was like, well, I had to finally let the bird go. I can't remember what they named it. Piper. They named the bird Piper. She was like, I had to finally let Piper go. But she would come out and she would say, where are you? Where are you? Like every day. And the bird would swoop over. She would hold its hand out, and the bird would come and land in her hand. And then the bird made its own nest. And then she had her own babies. Isn't that so sweet? It was like me with Mrs. Birdie. I miss Mrs. Birdie. I miss Mrs. Birdie so much. But anyway, there Alex and I were, you know, at 10:30 on a Friday night, sitting in bed watching this bird video, crying our eyes out. It was so sweet. We call Boo Radley Bird sometimes because we think he looks like a little bird. He does though, little bird. Little birdie, bird. My nicknames for Boo Radley are Bird and Pants, because his little butt, when he stands up, it looks like he has on pants. I don't know why I think that, but it looks like he has on like those long, like little shorty pants. You know what I'm talking about? That like, if you were proper, you wore like, you know, in the 40s. You like Auntie Mame when he has like those, he wears those long, do you know what I'm talking about? Anyway, that's what it looks like to me. But anyway, or it sometimes looks like if he needs to get groomed, it looks like he has like high heel boots on with his jeans. And so I'll sing that old country song to Boo Radley. I'll say, why'd you come in here looking like that with your high heel boots and your painted on jeans? He loves it. He thinks it's real funny. Anyway, I have my new cup tonight that I'm drinking. You can't really even see how fantastic it is, can you? It looks like there's a little bit of a dent in it or something. I have so many of these cups, it's ridiculous. I need to stop buying them. They make me happy. That magic book that I'm doing, I don't know what it is, you know? I just... it's making me so full of gratitude, like, all the time. And, like, I'm somebody that really practices gratitude actively, or actively practices gratitude in my life anyway. But, like, when you're really doing several things a day, right? Like, and now I'm trying to kind of do them all. Like, even though you're not supposed to do, like, the activities after just one day. I mean, it doesn't tell you to, but I'm sure you can. I've been, like, trying to continue to do them, and, you know, like, it was called Magical Relationships, and then you would look at people's pictures, and I picked, like, the 3 top relationships that you're super grateful for, you know, and I picked, Alex, Tanya, and my sponsor, and, I don't know, it's weird how it, like, breeds, like, gratitude breeds gratitude. Like, I was making this list today of, like, all the things I was grateful for, and I, like, started it, and I was like, I don't really, like, I was like, I don't know what to, like, write today, which is so weird because I'm always somebody that can come up with, you know, like, but now we're on day 5, so I've come up with, like, 40 things, of, you know, that I'm grateful for specific things. So then I was like, okay, what are things that I'm specifically grateful for today? And I was like, well, I'm specifically grateful for my mother-in-law. And then you have to go in and say why. And I was like, you know, because she loves me unconditionally, and she's allowed me into her family, and she's made me feel like a 4th son. And I was, like, listing all these things. And then I was like, I'm extremely grateful for my brothers-in-law, and talking about why. And I'm extremely grateful for Liliana because she's, like, the sister that I didn't have, and then I feel like part of that, you know. And I'm extremely grateful for Carol. I was going through, like, all my family, and it was interesting because I feel like I have a very small family. But then flashing to today's chapter was about, it was called Magical Money, and it was talking about, it's sometimes hard to be grateful, like, because you're supposed to be, like, grateful for all the money that you've been given in your life, that it's really hard to be grateful for all the money that you have in your life when you don't have very much. Like, if you have a small amount of money, like, it's hard to be grateful when you just have enough money to pay your bills, right? And I was thinking that, like, in reference to, like, and it was so weird because today my dad called me out of the blue, and then Alex was telling me some stuff about my mother-in-law, and it was weird because it was like, I was thinking about these people, and it was like, they all started, like, calling, and it was just weird, like, not like Alex's family, but he was telling me specific stuff about them tonight when we were talking. And then my dad called, and then Caroline and I were texting, and it's weird, like, as soon as I start thinking, like, positively, like, I put Sarah, Alex's friend, on the list, I think yesterday, and then she texted me, like, right afterwards. It was so bizarre. And I do believe kind of in that, you know, that when you're, like, thinking of somebody positively or putting positive energy out there towards somebody, that they, like Tanya and I have always sensed things about each other, weirdly enough. But, you know, the money thing, I think, is hard. Like, I was, Gina, I was thinking about that today, because you go through in the book, and there's, like, this activity that you do where you go through, like, everything that you've ever been. I don't know why my window is, like, fogging up. It was so cold when I got into my car, you guys, tonight. There was, like, frost on the window. But you go through, like, all of the different, like, moments in your life that you've been given money. Like, it starts with, well, it goes through, and you, like, look at, like, okay, were you given food when you were growing up? And there's a lot of people that would not be able to answer yes to some of these questions, but I was able to answer yes to all these questions, you know, and it made me really look at my upbringing, and I mean, I have done this exercise before, but so I was aware of that going into it. But it made me really, really aware of how much I've truly been given, when it was like, you know, when you were growing up, did you always have food to eat? Yes. Did you have clothes? Yes, I have very nice clothes. You know, did you take vacations? Yes. Did you have school supplies? Yes. How did you get to school? Well, you know, like, I took a bus, or my parents drove me. You know, did you live in a house? Did you have an apartment? Like, did you have a roof over your head? Yes, yes, yes. You know, did you have toys to play with? Did you have this? Yes. I mean, and it was like, and then, like, did you go to college? You know, like, how did you, all this stuff. And it's just like super powerful to take a look at. Like even things that you wouldn't think of, like even if you have a job and you work for your job and you make money that way, right? Like that, it stopped. Like even if you have a job and you work for that job, right? And you make money from that job, that's still money that's been given to you, because you look at it that way and you think, well, there are people that in other positions, you know, wouldn't make the same amount of money, or if they lived in different parts of the world, wouldn't make the same amount of money, right? But it really got me thinking about like some of the times in my life when I've had very, very little. And you know, I always say like in my Peterisms videos and stuff that sometimes the happiest I've been in my life was when I had very little. And I think I would have to change that statement. I don't know that I think that that's true. Because I don't know that I think that the measure of my happiness has been based on how much I had or how little I had. I think the basis of my happiness was based on how grateful I was for what I had at any given moment. And, you know, I've been at periods in my life where I'm not worried about a lot financially, and I'm very happy. And I've been at periods of my life when I have nothing financially, and I'm barely getting by bill, and I'm very happy. I've had other moments where I have everything I possibly wanted in my life and I was miserable. And I've had periods in my life where I was really just scratching by to pay my bills and barely could make it, and I was really unhappy too. So I don't know that how much I had at any given time was the basis for my happiness. I think the level of my gratitude for what I had at any given time. And she goes on in the book to talk about complaining, you know, and it's interesting because like Alex's family, like, I don't know, maybe my experience is only with one Latino family, so I don't know, right? But like, I feel like I grew up in a family of complainers. Like, everybody in my family were kind of like, you know, my dad is very cynical and sarcastic and, you know, I mean, in a very funny kind of way. My dad was not a complainer. My dad and my stepmom are not complainers. They like have just never complained. But very cynical, very sarcastic, like, you know, like, but my mom was definitely a complainer. My mom was. And my aunt could be a complainer. And so I don't know if like I grew up like with that kind of mentality, but like Alex's family, like they don't complain. In fact, like there's been a couple moments where I've complained about something and like Alex's mom is kind of, I'm trying to think of an example, but Alex's mom has kind of looked at me kind of like, are you really complaining about that kind of thing? You know, like, I don't know, like being part of their family has made me so much more appreciative, because they just don't complain. They like don't complain, you know, about anything. Like, they just don't. They're just so appreciative of everything. And, you know, like, even if it's like there's a lot of people over there and it's loud or whatever, if somebody wants to go to sleep, they just go to sleep. They don't complain about it being loud. They just go to sleep, you know? And it's like, I don't know. I just, like, I think that the level of happiness is, like, my aunt was very much like that, too. Like, she complained, I guess. Not really. She more complained to about Caroline and I think. But, like, she was very grateful for what she had, too. My mom was, I mean, here was the thing. My mom was like at two ends of the pendulum with it. Like, you know, I would get my mom, like, I would get a thank you note from my mom after Christmas. And literally, I always went overboard for my mom for Christmas because she never, like, she didn't have anybody else that was buying her stuff besides my aunt, right? So it was my aunt and I would always, you know, go and buy my mom perfume and clothes and, you know, an experience or get this done or get that done or whatever. My aunt and I went way overboard buying my mom Christmas presents. I mean, literally overboard. I mean, she was like a kid at Christmas, a spoiled kid at Christmas. And my mom would like, You know, and I would get like a sweetheart roll from Roslyn Bakery. What is that person? Where is that going? Oh my God, that is scary. That house is way back in there in the middle of nowhere. She would, I didn't even know that existed, and I've driven by here like every night for the last 3 years. I would get like a sweetheart roll, you know, from Roslyn Bakery, which was like the thing that we always did because she always had one growing up when she was a kid, you know, and orange juice and coffee or whatever. And, you know, like I would put stuff in her stockings, like an orange, like we always did stockings, you know, and she loved an orange in her stocking. And my mom would write me a very detailed thank you note, and it would say like, "Dear Peter, like, thank you so much for all of my fantastic Christmas presents. You know, I really, really loved the, you know, like the perfume. I've worn it every day this week and people have complimented me on it. Thank you for this, thank you for that. Thank you for the orange in my stocking. I had it for breakfast." I mean, she was very detailed about her being thankful for each and everything. And that was something that like my aunt and her were really hardcore about, were like thank you notes. Like I can remember my aunt would say, she would call me. So, if you've ever watched my drama channel, Jane and Vivian on my drama channel are kind of based, well, I mean, I actually did see a woman in the post office. That all started, it really did happen. Oh my God, I can see her in my head right now. But anyway, but the voice is kind of like morphed into like a little bit of how my aunt was, a little bit. So, my aunt would call me and she would say, "Peter, this is your Aunt Kathy." That's how she spoke. She really did. I loved her so much. Oh, I miss you, Aunt Kathy. And she would say, "If you want more Christmas presents, you must send thank you notes. I know your mother taught you better." And she was like, even your husband, because Alex would like text her and say thank you and I loved this and thank you for taking us out to dinner and all this kind of stuff. And she would say, even your husband has sent me a thank you text and I have received nothing from you. And I'm like, a thank you text is not a write out thank you note. You know what I mean? And like, but he would do it like right away and he'd be like, "Dear Aunt Kathy, thank you so much, blah, 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 whatever." And then, of course, he looked fantastic in her eyes and I looked like crap because I had to send a thank you note, you know? And so then I'd say, "Dear Aunt Kathy, thank you so much for this and this and this, and thank you for taking us out to dinner to Fleming's or Capri or wherever." And she'd say, "Oh, I love you so much. Now you get Christmas presents." That's what she would say. And the other thing about my aunt was that if you bought her, because I always got, she was one person that I always got really excited about buying stuff for, because both she and my mom were really into fashion and different brands and, you know, designers and things like that. So I always like to buy my aunt something very special and very cool and different, you know? And I would buy her a Christmas present and she would get so mad. She'd be like, "Oh, I do not like getting Christmas presents. I just like giving Christmas presents," she would say. I don't know, but the gratitude book has really, really made me think about like the periods of my life that I've been the most grateful and when I've lacked any kind of gratitude, you know, at all, and just been like, I mean, I've had periods of my life, you know, where I was a spoiled brat, entitled, felt like I was owed something in this world. I think that's why it's a real turnoff to me when I see that in others, like other YouTubers, when I see that entitlement, because I think that that was me at one point in my life. I don't feel like that's who I am today, but there was a period when I really definitely did feel that way. And what's sad about that is that the only person that really lost out on that was me, you know? I remember I used to put my feet up on this. Whenever I tell this story, I don't know why this is a story that people remember from my vlog, but I do. My dad had this table in his kitchen. I can see it. It was like this little, like probably like 3x2 wood table. I don't know where he bought this table, but it was like one of his favorite tables. Probably still is. He's still got it in his kitchen. But it had wood around the edge, and then in the middle of it, it was slate. And the slate was like a slate cutting. Like if you looked at it, it was like a shipwreck requisition, like because my dad loves sailboats. It was, so like his house is very nautical and things like that. It was a ship requisition of like a sailboat, and then it had the sailboat like blueprint in the middle of it. You guys know what I'm talking about, like old school, like, okay. It was very much like that, like kind of like a pirate table kind of deal, but not. Because it had a picture of the sailboat, and then around it, it had like schematics written and things like that. He loved this table. So I would come into the kitchen and I would sit and like, so when you come into their kitchen, it's like one part of their kitchen is like the island, and it's they have a beautiful kitchen. It's like the island where the, you know, the stove, and like they have a huge like chef's kitchen. And then the other side of it, I started talking about somebody again that I didn't need to be talking about, but anyway. So my dad has a chef's kitchen, right? Okay, so chef's kitchen on one side, and then on the other side, it very much looks like, I don't know how to explain it, kind of like a little house you'd see, like a little nook you'd see like in a, you know, Christmas country movie in England or something, you know. They have this big brick wall, and then they have like a fireplace built into the brick wall, a wood-burning fireplace. And then they have like a little couch and chair and stuff there, a little beautiful rug and whatever. So I would come and I would like make a sandwich, and then I would come in there and I would just like sit on the couch and throw my feet up on this table. And I can remember, and my dad is not somebody that gets mad. I mean, he just doesn't get mad about stuff. He's so just, you know, calm and easy peasy. He just doesn't get mad about stuff. I mean, I think truly in my life, and probably every single time has been a result of something that I've done. I can only think of like 4 or 5 times I've seen my dad like with teeth gritted there, you know, like where he's really mad. And it's been typically like how I've talked to him or something, and that was like before the age of 20. Like my dad just doesn't get angry. He just doesn't. He's like one of the calmest peacefulest people I've ever met in my life. So anyway, I can remember though, he would come in there and I would have my feet up on that table, and he'd get your feet off that table. When you can afford to buy that table, then you can put your feet up on that table. You know, and I think back about that, like, because then I can remember when I was, my first job that I got working in a treatment facility, and I was making like some ridiculous amount of money. I don't know. I mean, it was like lowest of the low minimum wage. And I remember I got my first paycheck after 2 weeks. I was like 80 plus, I worked like 90 hours or something. I remember that first 2 weeks. And, you know, this is not my proudest moment, but I had dealt drugs before that, you guys, okay? Like, I could make a couple $100 that quick dealing drugs, right? And I remember my first paycheck was $4.12, and I was something like $4.12, and I can remember being so proud of that paycheck, and I was like, I earned every cent of this $4.12. I was so proud of it. And I remember I went to Pier 1. I think that was when I did it. Do you guys remember Pier 1 back in the day? I went to Pier 1 and I opened a credit card, and I remember my limit. You guys, this is so funny. I remember my limit at Pier 1 was $400. I had like I couldn't get credit to save my life. And I opened this, and the only reason I was able to open it was because I just remembered that guy. I was friends with, well, that's a long story, but anyway. Did I ever tell the story about how, like, one night I went home? Okay, so I had this couple that I was friends with. His name was Toby. What was his boyfriend's name? I think they were both Toby. That can't be. It's kind of I feel like it was, though, maybe. But anyway, one night when I was out drinking, I wonder whatever happened to them. Anyway, they were a cute couple, and they were real sweet. One night when I was out, I don't even, like, because, you know, I was such a blackout drinker. This was, like, before I got sober. When I was friends with these two guys that were a couple. They had been a couple for a long time. Toby, oh, I just remembered his boyfriend's name. Yeah, it wasn't Toby and Toby. But anyway, I woke up, like, the next day in the morning, and I, like, smelled breakfast being cooked. And I was, like, in this, like, really little, like, loft area. And I, like, looked around. I was, like, sleeping on the floor in this loft. It was, like, they had a sleeping bag out, or they had made like, a bed for me with, like, sheets and pillows and stuff. And I was like, what is going on? Where am I? Oh, my battery is dying. I just had an area to turn around and change my battery. Now it's dying. I was like, where am I at? And, like, I looked down and I had these, like, pajamas on. Like, you know, pajamas that, like, button up and everything, right? They had put me in these pajamas. I was like, where am I? And it was my friends. And I was like, at first I was so weirded out by it. I was like, what did they do? Like, they were like, we gave you these pajamas and you changed into them and fell asleep. Hey, we made you some pancakes. Do you wanna? I always thought that, like, you know, like somebody was trying to get one up on me or something like that. I mean, but like that's the scary world that I lived in because I was such a blackout drinker that I didn't know, you know, like what happened. Hell, I didn't remember half the time I got home or how I got there or whatever. I mean, that's so scary to me when I look back on that, you know. But anyway, I remember going into Pier 1 and he helped me open a credit card, because if I opened a credit card I probably got like 10% off or something of this purchase, and I needed this table, right? And I bought this green long glass table that's very similar to the table that my dad has in his kitchen, and except it's green wrought iron and that one was wood. But I bought it, and it's so weird, there were just trash cans sitting to the side of the road. And that table today, if you've ever seen me do any videos from my office, I actually mosaicked that table myself. I screwed it up at first, but it is now like my favorite table of life. When people see it, they're like, oh my God, I love that table, blah, blah, blah. It's in my office. I need to bring it home, but I don't know where we would put it at home. But it's a glass table and has mosaics covering it with designs and all kinds of stuff. It's very, very cool. And that was that table that I got way back then, and I'm very proud of it to this day. Okay, I have to change the battery. Change the battery. I'll be right back. Okay, I had to change my battery, and now I'm back. And I was like vlogging for a second, and then I was like, I think maybe I should probably. Anyway, I was talking about, you'll get it here real quick. I was talking about Carlitos being 8 years old, and, you know, because he just turned 8 because of his birthday, and Sebastian and Santa Claus is what I was talking about. And, you know, what they want from Santa Claus this year and things like that. But as I was talking, I thought, well, maybe I should say this in a different way. Just in case there's Carlitos's and Sebastian's out there listening, if you know what I mean. But anyway, so I can remember with David, Caroline's son, thinking like, oh, he's getting older now, you know, like, never gonna get to experience this again, and that's kind of where I'm at, like, a little bit. Well, not with Sebastian, I don't think, but with, like, Carlitos. But then I was thinking to myself, you know, like, I'm sure that, like, Fufu is gonna have kids at some point. I hope they move back here to settle. They've talked a little bit about it. God knows if they will or not, but I mean, they may choose to raise their family like out west. But they've talked a little bit, I think, about like being back here and, you know, raising their family in Indiana, which I think would be nice, especially because, you know, like Carlos and Liliana are here and their mom is here and everything. If I said that to Alex, Alex would be like, well, we'll be in Florida, so it won't matter. Like, we're going back and forth. He's like, I know, but we're going to be in Florida most of the time, so it won't matter. My husband would literally spend 365 days on the beach if he could. He loves the ocean and the beach so much. I will say this, you know, like, I love Florida. Like, I have really turned into a lover of, like, the Miami, Florida area. And I have to just say, like, waking up every day to that, like, warm weather and stuff is just, like, I don't know, like, it puts me in such a good, positive space. I'm, like, in such a good mood. With waking up with the warmth and the sound of the ocean, and just, there's just a different attitude, you know? I don't know, it just is, there's something so positive about all of it. I love it. But then see, like, I like this too, you know? Like, I don't know what there is to like about it. This barren land that looks like, I mean, this morning there was so much frost on the ground. It's so cold. But, like, the sound of, like, your feet when they crunch on, like, the lawn in the mornings, you know, because it's so cold. And just drinking, like, a hot cup of coffee with it being it's 25 degrees outside, you guys. Oh, my God. We seriously could get, like, a foot of snow right now. I mean, we won't, but there are some beautiful homes out here. I've never really noticed it before. I don't know if it's because the leaves are off the trees now or whatever. But I do love the changing of the seasons so much. I really, really do. They're so peaceful. The changing of the seasons they are so peaceful, you know, to just kind of see the world retreat and then grow and then retreat and come back. It reminds me very much of, did you ever read the book The Giving Tree? Oh, my mom loved that book so much. Was that by Shel Silverstein? I have it at home. I probably have several copies of it at home. The book was so sad, wasn't it? I think somebody made it into a song. Do you guys know who I was like so listening to the other night? And I was like, oh my God, I have to tell you this. This is so funny. I'm like thought. I'm like jumping thoughts. Okay, The Giving Tree. I loved The Giving Tree so much, but that book always made me so sad. And I didn't really understand how sad it was until I got older. And I can remember my mom would buy me copies of it. And then she would inscribe something like really, really nice in it. And then as I got older, I was like, oh my God, this story is so tragic. This little boy that has this tree and he picks his apples, you know, and then it's just this old man in a stump. It's so sad. It's like so sad. But anyway, so then, okay, I was thinking that the other day I was listening to a bunch of John Denver music. Oh my God, I forgot how much I love John Denver music. You fill up my senses like a night in the forest. Is that what the words? And then it's like, Grandma's feather bed. It was 6 feet high, 9 feet tall. And, anyway, I was listening to a bunch of it. Annie's song and, all those country. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. Love that song. But do you know what? Tonight, I started singing to Alex, and he was like, I was like, do you know that song? And he looked at me, and he was like, he looked at me like I was the biggest idiot in the entire world, like I was making up a song. And he goes, no, I've never heard that song before. I go, you've never heard that song before? He goes, no. And like, literally looking at me like it was a made-up song, right? And I go, you've never heard of the Carpenters? And he goes, the who? And I go, the Carpenters. You've never heard of the Carpenters? And he goes, no. I go, oh my God, we need to talk. It is such a tragic story. So I was looking at him and I said, we've only just begun to live. Why listen? I love the Carpenters so much. But I said, it's such a tragic story. That Karen Carpenter, she died. It was so sad. They made that movie. And he goes, well, how would I know him or something? And I said, well, I'm trying to explain to them, you know, who Karen Carpenter is. I think she passed away before I was even born. But I'm trying to, no, that can't be possible. No. But anyway, so I'm trying to explain to him who Karen Carpenter is. And I go, did you ever, and I don't know what made me think of this scene, but I said, did you ever see the movie Drop Dead Gorgeous? And he goes, didn't we watch that together one time? I said, I think so. But Drop Dead Gorgeous, it's so bad, you guys. It has the scene in it where the former beauty queen that won the pageant, she's like, goes out, and like the song they're playing for her is like a Karen Carpenter song, and she's like waving it. It's bad, you guys. But anyway, I love that movie, Drop Dead Gorgeous, so much. That is probably one of my top 10 favorite movies of life. Oh my God, it's so good. That movie is so good. Ellen Barkin is hilarious in that movie. And what's the other one? She just won an Academy Award not too long ago for I, Tonya. Why can't I think of her name? I love her. She's so hilarious. She always plays like character roles. Denise Richardson is in that movie. That's what makes me realize how old that movie is, because you know Denise Richards is on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills now. Do you know what's interesting to me about? Do you guys watch Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? Okay. I was watching it, and I told Alex, I said, Denise Richards, like, okay, true story. Back in the day, I loved that movie Wild Things with Denise Richards and what's her face? Neve Campbell. Neve Campbell, first of all, after seeing her at Whorehounds Weekend, she looks fantastic, okay? But she's very, like, black leather jacket and jeans, and, like, just not overdone, right? Real cute haircut. So, anyway, Denise Richards, I loved her in that movie, Wild Things. I loved her in Drop Dead Gorgeous. So, I'm watching her in Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and I told Alex, I said, she looks so bad. Like, she doesn't look like she's doing well at all. And then they flash to the reunion, and I think this was like the episode before the reunion. They flashed to the reunion episode, and she's got all this makeup on, and she looked really just not great at all. But then they flashed to an episode where she had no makeup on at all, and she had her hair back in a pony. She looked fantastic. She looked absolutely fantastic. She is, like, naturally really, really pretty. And I think it's like when she was, like, trying to do all of the makeup and stuff that she didn't look as great as she did before. I don't know. I think people, like, you know, just associate her with being married to, like, Charlie Sheen. But, like, Denise Richards, like, when she came onto the scene, like, she was kind of a force to be reckoned with. I mean, people really thought she was, like, this exotic, cool thing. Do you guys remember that? And that died down real quick. She gets a bad rap on that show, but I have to say, like, I like the way that she kind of shelters her kids. I feel like she thinks it through, you know, and all this kind of stuff. I don't know, I like her. Well, I did until I watched the reunion show, and then I just couldn't get down with it anymore. And then I didn't like her as much. I could do an hour long. Tanya is really, really wanting to start a podcast talking about the Real Housewives. She's like, let's start a podcast and talk about the Real Housewives. She's like mentioned this so many times to me. I'm like, Tanya, I don't watch them. Like, she watches them like right as they come out, and she watches every season. Like, I don't watch them like that, and I don't know the history of it. So, like, for me, like with the Ramonas and stuff like that, like, I'll watch a season and then I'll miss a season. So, like, because I feel like they're constantly going. Tanya knows everything that has happened to every person that has ever been on any season of The Real Housewives. So, like, she could do a podcast, like, unbelievably, but I don't know as much about these people as she does, you know? So I'm like, because I'll say something to her about, like, oh, I really like this person, or I really don't like that person, and she'll say, well, in season 3, like, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't know that, see? And she's like, well, I know, it's not my fault you don't watch the show. You know, she's like, Tanya watches so much reality television, it's unreal. She's constantly talking about some show. I'm like, how did you hear about that show? She's like, oh, it's on Bravo. It just started on Bravo. It's so good. She knows so much about... So if you guys want us to do a podcast, she said she'll do it, but she wants to do something where she doesn't have to show her face. I'm like, oh, Tanya. She's like, what? I don't want to show myself on camera. I don't like to see myself on camera. That's what she always says. I'm like, get over it. I said, people love you. Get over it. She's like, I would love to do a podcast where we could talk about the Real Housewives. I said, okay. So, that may be coming soon. in 2025, when I can pull it together. Mel and I have been meaning to plan a true crime podcast forever. I can't have 6 channels, 2 podcasts, writing a book. I just can't keep up with it all. My God. I love it. I do. I can't believe that I have read as much as I have this year, you guys. I'm on my 67th book right now, and I think I might make it to 100. I'm like powerhousing through stuff right now. I'm like, I think I'm going to make it to 100. I can't read 30 books in a month. I just can't. Like, that's a book a day. I mean, I could if I really wanted to cheat. But if I could get to... If this month I could get to 20... Like, if I had 20 books to read in December, I could do 20. I could read 20. Because there's 5 weeks in December, which is 4 weeks a book. Or 4 books a week. And I could do that in December. And so then... So if I can get to 80... If I read 12 more books, y'all, Well, first of all, can I just tell you one of the things I'm really excited about is that the most books I've read since I started on Goodreads, which I think was in 2014, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, yeah, was 68. So I'm getting ready to pass the most books that I've read since I've been on Goodreads in like the last 6 or 7 years. Which I'm really excited about that. I mean, there's been some years I've only read 30 books, you guys. I've read 67 books this year, which I know to a lot of people isn't a lot. But the other thing is that it teaches me, because I took a break like this summer and slowed down, that if I hadn't done that, I'm like now, like I looked back and I was like, all I had to read was like 2 books a week to like, 2 books a week is easy. It's easy peasy to meet 100 books a year. So, and speaking of books, I'm going to go listen to Soldiers of Fortune now, and I'm going to go listen to my audiobook to get some of that done. So, because I want to finish this book. I want to finish this book today, and then start another. God, if I could finish 2 books this weekend, I could meet my goal of 68 by this weekend. And then, oh, I definitely could get 12 more books done by the end of November. I've been downloading some Christmas books, some Christmas mysteries. I just bought one the other day. I don't know what I actually bought it. And it's real short, too. It's like 6 hours and something. It's a new series. It's like book 1 in this new series about this woman, and her child's in like the Christmas pageant, and her husband's like at home on Christmas break, and then something happens with this guy that where she works, he drops dead or something. She's got to figure out like who did it and all this kind of stuff. It's a cozy mystery. Y'all know I'm into the cozy mysteries. Anyway, I'm just going to make this really super short tonight. Like my friend Stephanie says, all you have to say is I love you and good night. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Put some kindness, love, compassion, forgiveness, loving, understanding, goodness out there in the world. Practice random, like I also always say, practice random acts of kindness, but don't tell anyone. Most importantly, let somebody know how much they mean to you. Just have to text them or call them or whatever. And oh my god, see, I didn't just exit out, so now it's getting fuzzy. Anyway, oh, there it gets fuzzy again because I'm not getting out. So that's a sign that I need to bid you all a good night, like the Grateful Dead says. I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya!